All right, so now, folks, we've come to the best part of the evening. We have on deck Garrett Jackson. I'm going to turn this over to Clerk Hoover.
General business item 7A, overview of the 2024 comprehensive plan housing element. This is for public only. Our presenter, planning manager, Garrett Jackson.
All right, good evening, council. We are here to present the housing element of the comprehensive plan. We start each one of these comprehensive plan presentations the same way, with a review of comprehensive planning. We're well aware that the council has been through this review several times. This is for the people at home, so thank you for your patience. Starting with what are the basics of what is a comprehensive plan, and that is a 20-year development plan for the city of Bremerton. And how are we going to absorb forecasted populations and jobs that are coming to our city, and how do we account for that with housing, environmental concerns, transportation, other city services, and other topics. So our local comprehensive plan has many jurisdictional layers of review, and that starts with it needs to conform with the Washington State Growth Management Act. So the Department of Commerce has standards that the city must follow for our comprehensive plan. And then regionally, we plan collectively with the Puget Sound Regional Council, or PSRC. And that's made up of Kitsap, Kings, Snohomish, and Pierce counties. And they band together to form the document Vision 2050, which has a number of goals and policies that our local comprehensive plan must also meet. More locally, we have the Kitsap Regional Coordinating Council, or KRCC, and they come up with a document of county-wide planning policies that every jurisdiction within Kitsap County must follow, including us for our comprehensive plan. Population estimates indicate that the city will grow to just under 64,000 people by the year 2044, which is the year we're planning to, and just over 58,000 jobs. And that is an increase of over 46% in our population and an increase in jobs of 32%. So the city of Bremerton is regionally significant. Our regional planning body, PSRC, has designated the city as a metropolitan city. Our other peers are the city of Bellevue, Seattle, Tacoma, and Everett. And we have two regionally significant centers within our city that are supposed to absorb a number of jobs and population in the future. One being a manufacturing and industrial center out by the Bremerton Airport, which has the capacity for over 10,000 jobs. And the Downtown Regional Center, which also has a regional responsibility to absorb population and jobs of the Puget Sound. You'll see here up on the screen our basic growth strategy for the comprehensive plan update. Anything that you see that has a color to it is where a development standard is proposed to be changed in some way, with the exception of the dashed circles you'll see up on the screen, which indicate where a high-capacity transit station might be located, the center of reaching out to either a quarter mile or a half a mile for those high-capacity transit stations. So just to name them quickly, the medium-density residential zone is proposed to go from 35 feet to 45 feet, high density from 60 feet to 65, the general commercial zone from 45 feet to 65 feet, with also most of that changes being proposed in the downtown sub-area plan, where a height of 80 feet and no maximum density is proposed. So that was a very, very brief synopsis. We have a number of videos on Bremerton2044.com that explain this more fully. We have, for the land use element, vision, goals, and policies, and also an interesting video on what are the root causes of homelessness, all available on Bremerton2044.com. Thus far, the City Council has reviewed the vision, goals, and policies and growth strategy in February, an updated comprehensive plan schedule in August, and the land use element in September, and a video for each of those provided on Bremerton44.com, as will tonight's broadcast. So for the housing element, in tonight's packet, there's a number of links to Planning Commission packets and the policy documents for the housing element and housing appendices. Those are all also available, Bremerton2044.com. There are a number of tables, charts, factoids available in the housing element and the appendices that explain a snapshot in time of where the city of Bremerton is at for housing conditions and demographics. We have a couple of charts available for you tonight that explain some interesting information. One of those being the age of our housing stock. So the vast majority of the housing in the city of Bremerton was created before 1980. And as you'll see up here, in around the 2000 to 2009, that created housing stock was starting to dwindle. And that has contributed to the increase in housing prices over time, basic supply and demand. At the study session, the City Council asked that we adjust that 2020 or later chart. And since 2020, there's been over 1,400 housing units finalized in the city of Bremerton. Okay. You'll see here up on the screen the median gross rent from 2010 to 2022. And you'll see that across the board, whether it's in Washington State, Kitsap County, or Bremerton, those prices are rising over time. That 2010 median price in Bremerton being about $800 a month, going up to around $1,400 a month in 2022. And while this has been happening, the poverty level within the city of Bremerton has dropped, peaking at about 21.5% in 2015. That poverty level has dropped in 2022 to about 14%, compared to a statewide poverty level of about 10% and countywide at just about 8%. So the housing element, all the goals and policies are based off of the overall vision of our housing element. And that vision being to encourage the growth of Bremerton by strategically locating a wide variety of housing types throughout the city in a way that protects the environment and fosters community health. And that fits into our regional planning strategy also that's provided by PSRC, which encourages three main tenets of supply. Are we creating enough housing? Stability. Is the housing that we have being maintained? And subsidy. Is there enough subsidy to create housing in our region? So how this plays out locally is an intersection of how local government, the private sector, and housing agencies interact for each one of these components. Now, how we can affect that here locally from a supply side are, do we have regulations for zoning that encourage the creation of housing? Are the structure heights, is the maximum density, are the allowed uses that are allowed within zones conducive to creating housing? For stability, the city provides a weatherization and minor home repair program. We are in development for a displacement program where if you are displaced from your home from new development, there will be options for you. And setting rental unit housing standards through code enforcement. Lastly, subsidy of options that we have here locally from the city of Bremerton are our local rental assistance program and the multifamily tax incentive. So a new component to this comprehensive plan that hasn't been utilized in previous comprehensive plans are that we're no longer required to just plan for a number of housing units to show that we can meet population needs. We also need to show that we're planning for individual income levels. So as you'll see here up on the screen, there are a number of income bands, and those are all based off of area median income. When that's set for a family of 4 in Kitsap County to be just under $120,000 a year. So every jurisdiction within Kitsap County is required to plan for these different income bands. You'll see here up on the screen a table that's been adopted by the Kitsap Regional Coordinating Council, which shows each jurisdiction in Kitsap County taking a share of each individual income band. Now, because we are planning for this housing does not unfortunately mean that this housing will be constructed. You'll see here up on the screen a chart provided by the Department of Commerce, which shows that as you plan for the lower of an income band that there is, the more government subsidy that's required to create that housing. But that in some communities, even families making up to 125% of AMI still require some subsidy to create that housing. Another new component for this comprehensive plan is an analysis of racially disparate impacts. So in the housing element and appendices, we provide some historical context for racially disparate impacts in our city. Starting with that the Suquamish tribe have lived, gathered plants, collected ceremonial and spiritual items, hunted and fished here since time immemorial in what is now Western Washington State. Some information on Sinclair Park, which consisted of 280 homes in West Bremerton that segregated black residents from 1943 to 1948 when all of that housing was demolished. And we also provide some information on the exclusion of black and Asian populations from housing, exclusionary zoning, racially restrictive covenants, and redlining. And how that works out for the housing picture today is that if you are white, you are 50% likely to own your home, whereas households of color are 35% likely to own a home. There's some other demographic information here on the screen as well. So we were required to do a policy evaluation for the housing element. We had guiding documents from the Department of Commerce where we had to decide if our policies were supportive, approaching, challenging, or not applicable. And we've provided an example below here where the original policy read, partner with community block grant and other applicable programs and funding sources to encourage the removal or abatement of blighting influences in and around residential areas. Now, historically, the word blighting has been a bit of a race whistle, and so we have proposed to replace that with the word neglecting, which is defined by the International Property Maintenance Code as opposed to the word blighting. Okay. All right, and this week we will be putting out our draft environmental impact statement, DEIS alternatives, and that is also included in the housing element and its appendices. There's a lot of table work in the DEIS that breaks down housing by alternative. So we have 3 alternatives, alternative 1, 2, and 3. And alternative 1 is the current conditions, so the city's current zoning code and what housing would result from that zoning code. And alternative 2 and 3 being an altered zoning code. Alternative 1, we show that there would be a deficit of housing in the city under our current zoning code, with alternatives 2 and 3 providing a surplus. Now that's broken down by zone and also by the housing type for single family units or multifamily units. And as we discussed before, that's also broken down by income band. So you'll see here, this chart breaks down each zone by the number of housing units available by income band. Once again, alternative 1 providing a deficit, and alternative 2 and 3 providing a plus. So we are still working through the finer points with the Department of Commerce and the Puget Sound Regional Council. If anyone has any questions, my contact information is available on the screen, or visit Bremerton2044.com, where you can provide comment and get a hold of DCD with any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. So there's no action being taken tonight by council. This is an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions and make comments on this comprehensive plan housing element overview. Does any member of the public have any questions or wish to comment on this item?
Hi, my name is Alden Bradford, and I appreciated the way that in the presentation we documented the racial disparities and inequities that we have. And I'm wondering in what ways have we used that information to inform the plan for how we're going to address those and improve that.
Mr. Jackson, you're welcome to come up if you feel like you can handle answering the questions.
Sure. So a main component on how we're addressing racially disparate impacts are the allowed uses that we have in individual zones. With this comprehensive plan update, it's proposed to add multifamily as an allowed use within the low-density residential and medium-density residential zones. It's been shown that people of color are more likely not to own a home, and so by restricting the available rental stock to to certain geographies in the city, you provide less housing options for persons needing rental housing. And so that is, I'd say, the main reason that, the main method in which we are addressing racially disparate impacts with the comprehensive plan update.
Thank you. And Clerk Hoover, just before, I'm so sorry, one moment. Don't you stay right there, though. Don't go anywhere. You're next. Do we have anybody approved online for comments tonight? I think I have one exception that I've made, which is Marwan Cameron. So if he does ever raise his hand, please know it. Okay, thank you. Yes, you may proceed.
Hold on, I'm short. All right, this is going to be the slowest back and forth. So I just wanted to continue the response that you had. Oftentimes folks in communities of color tend to be pretty historically disenfranchised financially, and that's a lot of the reason why folks don't own homes. If we even look at the intersection of race and class disparities, a lot of people don't own homes because homes have been incredibly expensive. So I'm curious to know if also part of this comp plan in some of the way that it's designed also addresses the excessively inflated prices of homes. As someone who's not a person of color but does have a lot of student loan debt and generational lack of wealth, I would like to own a home someday, but it's not currently in my future. Do we have a plan to address that? Yeah? Thank you.
Mr. Jackson, I think he's ready. This must not be a new concept for DCD.
No, and that I wish that I had provided a fuller answer before, and that while we're providing for multifamily as an added allowed use, that doesn't mean that these units can't be condominiumized, where you can there maybe own half of a duplex or a unit in a multifamily building, and that provides a lower entry point for home ownership and gaining wealth over time. So maybe everyone can't afford a single family home, but by providing for additional housing types, there's a lower price point for a multifamily unit potentially than a standalone single family home.
Thank you. Does any other member of the public wish to question or comment on this item?
Yeah, hello. I was looking at page 20 in the packet, which is a chart about support through government subsidy of building of new housing. I just find it kind of striking that even in excess of 100% AMI some sort of government support is needed to build housing, like, why is it so expensive and difficult to build housing, I guess, my question.
Thank you. Can you state your name for the record?
Barrett Hudacek.
Thank you. I think the question was, why is it so expensive to build a home? I'm not sure that we have a great answer for that, do we? Do you feel like that's something that you'd like to, so basically, the question was, why does it cost so much above AMI why do we still need support above AMI?
So I'm not an economist, but that being said, a lack of producing housing has led to a housing shortage, which has increased the price of housing. And local regulations that make it difficult to construct housing and different housing types have also contributed to that short supply of housing. So I can't give you a detailed answer on why housing is so expensive, but those are the ways that we can affect the market here locally.
Thank you. Well, we
May I ask
already.
another question?
I don't think that we can let me double check. I think that we're only allowed to have one time per. Yeah, I'm sorry.
correct.
Okay.
Okay. You're welcome, yes, email. You're welcome to email city.council@ci.bremerton.wa.us. You might know that one by heart. And maximize, I'm so sorry, maximize your 3 minutes while you're up. We don't have any holds or we don't bank the time. All right. Okay. I think I will close general business, item 7A. If there's no other unique comments to make for this from other people. Okay, nobody online. All right.